Welcome to the Deeper Thinking podcast, the New Jersey drone mystery and the age of fragmentation. In this episode of the Deeper Thinking podcast, we explore a world that feels both hyper-connected and profoundly fractured. At the heart of our discussion is the recent New Jersey drone mystery, an enigmatic event that captured headlines in 2024 and raised unsettling questions about the limits of power, security, and governance. But this is more than just a story about drones or unidentified aerial phenomena. It's a lens through which we examine the deeper systems shaping our lives today, from the erosion of shared narratives to the diffusion of power into algorithms, corporations, and decentralized networks. What do these events say about the state of our institutions, our technologies, and our collective psyche? Join us as we connect the dots between a world struggling to make sense of itself and the symbols, like drones and UFOs, that hover above us, challenging our understanding of authority, progress, and control. This is not just a conversation about what's happening in the skies over New Jersey, but about what's happening in the systems we rely on and the stories we tell ourselves. Let's dive in. The modern world, with its hyper-connected networks and limitless streams of information, presents itself as a marvel of progress. On the surface, it seems seamless. Economies entangle, technology permeates every aspect of daily life, and information knows no borders. Yet beneath this shimmering exterior lies a profound and growing fragmentation. The more connected we become, the more fractured our societies feel. Power is no longer a discernible force wielded by identifiable hands. It is diffused, spread thin across corporate interests, opaque governments, and algorithms that govern without oversight. Accountability dissipates like smoke in this fractured landscape, leaving behind a chaos that is ungovernable and often unnoticed. This paradox of connection that fragments, of systems that fail even as they expand, defines the present moment. Institutions that once claimed to address crises instead perpetuate confusion and impotence. Climate catastrophe looms ever larger, financial systems teeter on the brink, and social polarization deepens. Yet the responses are piecemeal, hollow gestures designed more to reassure than to solve. This dissonance between the scale of the problems and the shallowness of the solutions reveals the rot at the heart of modern systems. The promise and betrayal of neoliberalism. To understand the roots of this fragmentation, we must return to the late 20th century, to the rise of neoliberalism. Emerging as a doctrine of freedom and prosperity, neoliberalism reimagined individuals as self-interested competitors within an omnipotent marketplace. Its champions, figures like Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, promised a world of endless growth, innovation, and opportunity. But beneath these promises lay a hollow truth. Neoliberalism did not deliver freedom, it atomized society. It replaced collective purpose with individual ambition, leaving communities fractured and vulnerable. Initially, neoliberalism created the illusion of success, economic growth soared, cultural icons emerged as symbols of possibility, and the market seemed to validate its own mythology. But this prosperity was uneven, and its cost became impossible to ignore. Deindustrialization swept through entire regions, leaving ghost towns in its wake. Communities that had once thrived on collective labor and shared identity were reduced to rubble, their cohesion destroyed. Far from delivering the promised freedom, neoliberalism imprisoned individuals within a system that demanded endless competition while withholding meaningful agency. This transformation was not simply economic, it was psychological. In the mid-20th century, people were told that hard work and loyalty to one's community would lead to stability and purpose. Under neoliberalism, they were told to adapt to an increasingly precarious world where survival required constant reinvention. Stability was replaced by anxiety, community by individualism, and the future became a prize reserved for the ruthless few who could navigate constant upheaval. For much of the 20th century, societies were anchored by grand narratives that provided coherence and direction. During the Cold War, the ideological struggle between capitalism and communism framed every conflict, decision, and aspiration. Later, neoliberalism offered its own story, a world of endless growth driven by free markets and global trade. These narratives, flawed as they were, gave people a sense of purpose and a framework for understanding their place in the world. But these stories have collapsed. The binaries of the Cold War have faded, and the promises of neoliberalism have unravelled, leaving a void. In this vacuum, fragmented realities have taken root. Algorithms and social media now curate personalised worlds where individuals inhabit their own echo chambers, isolated from those who think differently. Shared understanding has been replaced by competing truths, each amplified by platforms designed to maximise outrage and engagement. Governments, once the purveyors of certainty, now stumble through fragmented and reactive measures. Their authority eroded by decades of privatisation, deregulation, and neoliberal orthodoxy, they are unable to articulate a coherent vision for the future. Instead, they issue contradictory signals, exacerbating public disorientation. This collapse of shared narratives is not just a symptom of fragmentation, it is a cause. The diffusion of power and the weaponization of ambiguity. The fragmentation of narratives has been accompanied by the diffusion of power. Once centralized in governments and visible institutions, power now flows through intangible realms of algorithms, corporations, and decentralized networks. This diffusion creates not just a vacuum of accountability, but an architecture of ambiguity. When no one is clearly in charge, no one can be held responsible. This ambiguity is not accidental. It is a mechanism of control. Governments, stripped of authority by decades of neoliberalism, outsource their functions to private entities and automated systems. Corporations, unmoored from public accountability, wield power through opaque supply chains and financial mechanisms. Social media platforms, ostensibly tools for connection, thrive on amplifying confusion. Designed to maximize engagement rather than understanding, they bombard users with fragmented, contradictory information. In the absence of coherence, societies are left adrift, overwhelmed by content yet deprived of clarity. This is not a failure of the system, it is the system. The ambiguity, the fragmentation, the inability to provide clarity, these are features, not bugs. Systems that were once designed to protect and empower individuals now thrive on confusion, ensuring that power remains diffuse, accountability impossible, and meaningful change unthinkable. The digital transformation, heralded as a new era of progress, has quietly embedded fragmentation into the very fabric of human interaction. Unlike the visible upheavals of earlier industrial revolutions, this transformation operates invisibly, reshaping perception, knowledge, and power. Algorithms optimized for engagement curate personalized realities that isolate individuals within echo chambers. These systems do not just reflect society's fractures, they deepen them. Efforts to mitigate the harms of these technologies through algorithm tweaks or content moderation miss the deeper implications. These systems, far from neutral tools, actively shape societal values and norms. They entrench disconnection and strip meaning from the collective narratives that once unified societies. The result is a world where authority flows through intangible networks of data, leaving individuals isolated and disoriented. 2024. Drones, UFOs, and the deepening crisis of ambiguity. In 2024, reports emerged of unidentified aerial phenomena, UFOs, hovering above sensitive military installations in New Jersey and Great Britain. These were not distant, fleeting sightings. They were direct intrusions over the heart of military power. The term drones surfaced repeatedly, an attempt to rationalize the inexplicable. But these objects moved with impunity, defying interception or removal. They flew above some of the most secure and surveilled spaces on Earth, and yet their origins remained elusive. This was not merely a failure of technology or strategy, but a profound exposure of systemic impotence. These military bases, symbols of state authority and control, were unable to enforce the sanctity of their own skies. The UFO, or drone, revealed the disconnection between the state's rhetoric of security and its diminishing ability to act decisively. Whether alien, adversarial, or something altogether unknown, they operated in defiance of human agency, evoking the growing realization that even the most fortified systems are vulnerable to forces beyond their grasp. The UFO question now hangs over society like a crack in the ceiling, an anomaly that cannot be ignored yet cannot be explained. It undermines trust in the structure itself, forcing us to wonder what else has been concealed from view. The state's failure to control its own airspace, much less articulate a coherent explanation, reflects the broader failures of governance. Like social media algorithms or financial systems, these phenomena operate beyond human comprehension, deepening societal disorientation. This is not just about UFOs or drones. It is about a broader inability to construct grand narratives capable of explaining the present. In the 20th century, the Cold War provided a unifying story: capitalism versus communism, freedom versus tyranny. Even neoliberalism, with its promise of endless growth and globalization, served as a guiding framework. But today, no such narrative exists. The grand narratives have shattered into fragments, like a cracked mirror reflecting different, incomplete versions of the same distorted image. Each person clings to their own fragment, unable to see the whole. As the world drifts further into disarray, it becomes clear that the systems shaping our lives are not designed to create order, but to amplify chaos. They operate not through solutions, but through the perpetuation of problems, leaving individuals isolated and overwhelmed. In this fragmented landscape, the questions we fail to ask are as important as the answers we cannot find. The UFO, in its unknowability, encapsulates the essence of the modern condition. It represents the disconnection between power and reality, the disintegration of shared narratives, and the systemic failures that define our age. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the New Jersey drone mystery and the deeper questions it raises about our fragmented world. As we've explored, these events aren't just isolated curiosities, they're symbols of larger systemic failures and the disconnection between power and the people it claims to serve. If today's episode resonated with you, or sparked thoughts about the forces shaping our hyperconnected yet fractured reality, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, theories, or reflections by connecting with us on social media or visiting our website. And don't forget to subscribe to the Deeper Thinking podcast for more episodes that peel back the layers of our complex world, offering a critical look at the systems, stories, and symbols that define our time. Until next time, keep questioning, keep reflecting, and as always, keep thinking deeper. Thank you for listening.